Welcome to the Overflow Worship Podcast, where we serve and support leaders so you can serve and support your local church.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Overflow Worship Podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Olson. I have something really fun in store for you today. So I recently hopped on Instagram Live with two of my friends, Paul Vasilko and Ryan Zimmer. They are both longtime alumni of the Overflow Worship Conference. They have been in the band and speakers, and also Ryan is a sponsor with his ministry business, Advanced Ministry Technologies. They're both just really amazing people. Paul is a senior pastor at a church in the area, and I'll let them tell you all about that, but I wanted to give you a little bit of setup here for this conversation you're about to listen to. We were live on Instagram. If you want to see the video, you can absolutely head over to Overflow Worship Official and watch the whole video too. But here is the conversation giving you a little bit of a teaser of some of the stuff that you're going to hear about at the Overflow Worship Conference. Ryan and Paul are teaching a breakout session together, and so they're going to talk a little bit about it, and I hope that you enjoyed the conversation. We're live on Instagram. Thanks, guys. This is great.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, for those of you who are jumping on from all three channels, my name is Andrea Olson, and we are going to talk about all things Overflow Worship Conference today. And we actually have kind of a double whammy happening here. I was trying to say that 10 times fast. And we are also recording for our podcast listeners. So to those of you who are listening on the podcast, if you want to see the video live, you can see it on Instagram, but on the Overflow Worship official channel. But for those of you who are here live, welcome. We're glad you're here. So I'm going to let my guests introduce themselves as well. If you follow them directly, you know who they are. But for those of you who don't, this will give you a little intro. So Paul, why don't you start and introduce yourself?
For sure, yeah. So my name is Paul Vasilko, and I'm a senior pastor at Refuge Church in Wilmer, Minnesota. And my wife grew up as a lifelong best friend to Andrea. And so we've been in their worlds for a while, and have been part of Overflow Conference really since the beginning. So excited to be with everybody today, and looking forward to a great conference in October.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Paul. How about you, Ryan? Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah. My name is Ryan Zimmer. I own and operate Advanced Ministry Technologies. I've been with Overflow actually for 5 years, or this will be my 5th year coming up. I get to wear a lot of hats during the time, during the weekend as well, as a sponsor and a breakout session speaker, and get to play in the band as well. So just enjoy the weekend. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you guys there. You guys are, even though you haven't been there since day one, Ryan, like Paul, I feel like you have. Like you're like in the family. So guys, this year is a really exciting conference year. I think just in a lot of ways, we're going to do some things differently and do some things that are new, and some of the things that you know and love will be there as well. But I think coming off of 2020 and coming off of just the challenges that we as people in general, but also as a collective church whole, church with a big C, have faced, we really wanted to come alongside of those needs. And, you know, the people that I get to work with in different churches, and both Paul and Ryan are, in different church bodies as well. And so they get to hear different unique challenges. And one of the things that I hear a lot, is wanting to have a healthy conversation about healthy dynamics between senior pastors and worship leaders. And what does that relationship look like? Or what are some tips and tools that are helpful in that? So we're going to give you a teaser today. We're not going to unpack the whole thing, because you got to come to the conference to hear the whole thing, because this is going to be one of our breakout sessions. So I guess, the first question would be, maybe I'll just start with you, Ryan. What's maybe one thing that you've learned in the you can pick if it's like your whole ministry career or if it's just in the last, year or two. What's one thing that you've learned that has really helped you along the lines of pursuing that healthy relationship that we're talking about?
Yeah, well, that's a loaded question. And just so people know my background a little bit too, I've been a worship pastor for around close to 20 years now, and have served in various different roles within the church as well. And I've been on both ends of the spectrum in very healthy worship pastor relationships and very unhealthy. I'm thankful that I'm in a very healthy one at this point. But I'd say the one thing that I've learned just as a worship leader in general is understanding that God doesn't just call you exclusively to your position in the church. He's also called that senior pastor. And from my perspective, as the worship leader under that senior pastor's authority, to be able to trust them and follow their leadership and their guidance, because God didn't just call you to your position and that's exclusive to anything else. It works as a larger picture and it works in harmony for the kingdom of God.
Yeah, that's so good. What a good reminder for all of us, walk in that humility and that like perspective. So Paul, for you also have a unique perspective because you are a drummer, so you played on worship teams, but you're also a pastor. And so you kind of get to see both sides of the coin. And so I guess I would ask you the same question. What's something that you've learned in recent years that's been, you felt like has been really helpful for you, whether from the pastoral side or, the team member side, but yeah.
Oh, I feel like it's funny because I feel like I'm just learning. I've still so much to learn. I mean, honestly, it's every day. I think God teaches me something new about what it means. How much more I need to depend on Him, because the reality is, I think that's probably something that I've learned pretty strongly especially in the last 18 months, is just how much we really need to depend on the Lord and how much He'll do what He wants to do, regardless of whether or not we want that to be the case. And just a perfect example of how this played out in my own life. I've been at this church on pastoral staff for like 3.5 years. My first 3 years, I was an associate pastor here, and our senior pastor at the time retired after 30 years here. And so I was moved up into that lead pastor role. And my first Sunday was supposed to be this past Easter 2021. But I came down with COVID on Maundy Thursday prior to Easter on that Sunday. And so it was one of these things where my first Sunday, I had envisioned, getting to preach my first sermon as, lead pastor of our church on Easter Sunday, Resurrection Sunday. And I was laying in bed with my wife. We both had COVID, and we were watching the live stream trying to stay awake because we were both so tired and not feeling the greatest. So I think that was just a really tangible example of the Lord teaching me that I need to depend on Him. And I would say that that's something that, I think we, as people in ministry, a temptation that I fall into, and I think probably others as well, is to depend on our own strength. And so as we lead together as well, reminding one another of that need to depend on not on our strength, but on the Lord's. And I think that's a helpful thing in any ministry dynamic, just constantly we're pulling each other back to that place of dependence on the Lord.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's so good. And I think a lot of times when we talk about, breakout sessions and these kinds of things, well, this is the topic, this is what we're going to talk about, we assume that it is well, very, like step one, say this,
Yeah.
step two, do this. But it's like, before we can even get to that, we have to deal with these things, kind of the heart behind it. And, how are we approaching one another? Like, how are we coming to the table initially to begin with? And so I guess, either one of you, maybe I'll just go back to Ryan and then I'll come back to you, Paul. But so what are a couple of things that people could expect in this class at the conference? Like, what are, a couple, maybe you want to just highlight a bullet point or two of things that people could expect when they attend this class?
Sure. Well, there are some tangible things that you can actually focus on as both a worship leader or a pastor. And I'm going to be coming from the worship leader perspective of it, but just learning how to serve your pastor and, listening to them and initiating conversation and creativity between the two of you as well. It's amazing sometimes the ideas that I can come up with when I'm bouncing them off of, my pastor. And it's a lot better than when it's just on your own. Just when there's two minds going into the service and, just learning how to strengthen that relationship and tangible things that you can work on that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be so good. How about you, Paul? What's something that they can expect maybe from the pastoral perspective?
For sure. Well, I mean, again, the reality is one of the things that I love about the Overflow community is that, we really do learn a lot from one another. I mean, I've been, involved on the presenter side a lot over the last several years, but I always, even as a presenter, I usually walk out with something from that. So I would say certainly that's one aspect that I know Ryan and I are both, pretty passionate about, wanting to come alongside people where they are. So we have some things that we've tried that have worked for us, but that's us and that's our church context. So where are you right now? And like he said, can we bat some ideas around together, and not even just us, but also the other people in the breakout as well, because there's a lot of different contexts. So, I mean, certainly make some space for that. But the other thing is, I'm a pretty practical guy. I like systems, and I have a few things that have worked well for us at our church. So I'm happy to share some of those with people during the breakout. I won't share it now because we gotta, encourage people to come.
Suspense.
Yeah, right. But no, just a few little things that we've done here that have seemed to work really well, especially in a COVID era where you're spending a lot of time working and you're not sitting in the same office as much as you used to for those planning sessions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's good. So Ryan, I'm going to go back to you and ask you, so in the past, like, you have sent people from your worship team to come to the conference. And I know you've also, brought other people from other church or helped them get connected, with us and that kind of thing. And so I would love for you to tell people, why it would be beneficial for them as the worship leader to encourage their team to come, or if they're a team member to, even if their team isn't going, just register themselves. Like, why is it valuable for them to attend something like this?
Yeah, I think there's two parts of it. One is it's easy to kind of just get stuck in our own mundane, everyday, week to week Sunday grind. And this really pulls you out of it. It gives you a good perspective. I think it's just a good reset every year too, with a lot of my worship team, just to put back into perspective what's important. And, the other part of it though, is it's very encouraging. And I know everybody that I talk to after they leave the conference, they're excited, they're, rejuvenated to try new things. And, how does this fit into my context? And, how does it fit my role within the worship team, whether I'm the sound person or if I'm the worship pastor or whatever. There's always practical things that you can take away from it and put into your context.
Well, thank you. That's great. That's always fun for us as a team to hear too. Just encourages us as we move forward with planning and everything like that. So thanks for sharing that, Ryan. So Paul, for you from a pastor's perspective, we get calls from people, from senior pastors that will say like, I want to send my team to this, or how do I get them to jump on board with this? So for you, as maybe from senior pastor to fellow senior pastor who may be listening, why would it be important for them to advocate for their team to attend this conference?
For sure. I mean, the reality is, as leaders in any organization, right? Like it's, I mean, to speak really just kind of brass tacks about it, like it's beneficial to your organization to invest in your people. I mean, at the end of the day, it just really is. And if you care about helping your people, and not just those on worship team, but everybody who's going to be led in worship by these people week after week, if you want that encounter with the living God to be as fresh as possible, you need to make space for those people who are leading to really lead out of the overflow of their own personal and vibrant, growing relationship with Jesus. One of the things that I think is really hard for a lot of leaders right now is they're leading from a place of emptiness and not a place of overflow. And so, for you pastors out there, like this is a great opportunity to give your worship team the gift to say, you know what, even if we have to pay somebody else to come in and lead worship on Sunday because you're going to get back late on Saturday night or whatever, this is an investment into you, investment into our church, to say, we want you to be refilled in some way. And I know, having been there year after year, that happens. It does. I mean, it just, even if all that happens is you're just there in a different space, just being there, it's going to do something in your soul, and it's going to stir, and it's going to refill. And I know that's your heart, Andrea, especially this year, with everything everybody's walking through. Is to really pour into and give people a chance to just kind of stop and take a deep breath. And so, I guess I would just say, as pastors, like, just think about it as an investment in your people, because it's worth making.
Yeah. Amen. Thank you. Thank you both for sharing that. And for those of you who are watching live on Instagram, or those who are listening later on the podcast, the Overflow Worship Conference was created for the local church. We love the local church, and we love the worship team members and worship leaders and pastors. And we want to come alongside of you however we can to encourage you and equip you to thrive where you are. And this year, it's all about being able to step back and press pause on ministry and take a breath for the weekend. And that's our theme. Our theme verse comes from Exodus, where it talks about my presence going with you and I will give you rest. And that's what we want for you as worship leaders and pastors and team members, because everybody that I talk to, I hear the same thing. And maybe Paul and Ryan, you can, maybe you hear it too, but they're tired, like just tired. Yep. And Paul and Ryan are, and I am too, we're all in it with you. And that's the beautiful thing about this conference too, is like, you're rubbing shoulders with people who are in the trenches too. And so we can lift each other up and encourage one another. And so all the info for the conference is at overflowworship.com, and it's on October 8th and 9th in Wilmer, Minnesota. And you can always reach out to us on our socials or info@overflowworship.com to get more details or answer questions. Our whole team is here to just walk alongside of you and help you. So Ryan, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your heart. Paul, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And just pray blessings on you guys in the ministry that you continue to do to so many churches in the Wilmer area.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Andrea. Looking forward to the conference. It's going to be great.
And that is a wrap for our conversation. So again, friends, like I said in the live, we want to see you at the conference. So head over to overflowworship.com and you'll be able to get all the info about all the different ticket types and promotions that we're running, and breakout session schedule, class titles, Everything is there. But if something's missing, we are here for you. So reach out to us, info@overflowworship.com. And we really hope to see you and your worship team on October 8th and 9th, 2021 in Wilmer, Minnesota for the Overflow Worship Conference. This event is for the entire worship team, and we are excited to come alongside of you and encourage you, give you a moment to press pause, to just take a breath, be encouraged. The night of worship is on Friday the 8th. Kicks off at 7 p.m. And that is a night for you to just come and be. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to run sound. You don't have to sing. You don't have to do a thing. You just get to come and attend. When do you ever get to do that? And our hope and prayer is that you are poured into and encouraged. And then Saturday, the 9th, is all the sessions and workshops for the entire worship team. So please join us. We hope to see you there.
You've been listening to the Overflow Worship Podcast. If you enjoy our podcast, please take a moment and leave us a 5-star rating and a written review, which helps us reach more people. New episodes are released every other Monday. So until next time, thank you for listening.